Good afternoon. This is Anthony Glenn checking in with the SITREP podcast where we help you win in real estate. And today's guest is no other than Sire Scott Leonardson the 15th. He used to be a king, y'all. I'm joking. But this is my brother, man. We've been doing real estate for a long time. We got a really unique relationship. He's a realtor, a mortgage professional, and a real estate investor, right? He's on the military mortgage group side. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the 5 things that happens in week 2 in regard to a home buyer utilizing the VA benefit. Scott Leonardson, welcome to the podcast.
Great. Hey, thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming, so glad we could finally link up.
Indeed. So uniquely, him and I used to make Marines down at MCRD San Diego. And this gentleman right here is responsible for me passing my real estate exam because I'm not a test taker. So I was actually going to his property many moons ago. 2006 and 7 time frame, and we were studying together to go on this journey, and that was all she wrote, man. And look at where we're at today. He's one of the force multipliers in the mortgage company, and then also he's a retired U.S. Marine. So let's get right into it. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing it. I had a bad experience for my first home purchase. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw this out there. In 2005, when we were, young Thundercats on the drill field, I kept getting advices from all kinds of folks saying, hey, buy a house. You're going to get equity. You have a lot of options in the future. Use that BAH. And those are great things. However, nobody was really aware, or nobody tried to make themselves aware of that future bubble that we were about to have. Mm-hmm. And I was renting an apartment. They were turning it into condos. And so the property manager said, hey, you need a house. Let me show you some houses. And started showing me houses that I didn't know I could afford, which, as it turns out, I really couldn't afford them. And I got put into a poor situation. And, to my dismay, I wasn't a very informed consumer. So that's partly my fault. But the way things were set up back then, there's a lot of people taking advantage of situations like that. So that's part of what led to the bubble crisis. So I felt really bad about it. I thought that I had a great situation. I felt great about this. I was proud. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the carpet just got ripped from underneath me, and it was a poor experience, and I had a bad taste in my mouth. And so I wanted to be able to make sure that nobody else felt how I felt. So, we took that real estate course together, and initially I didn't want to do anything with a license. I didn't apply. And then I saw that, hey, life is pretty good for my boy. All right, let me do this. Mm-hmm. So then I had to pass the test again because it took a little too long for me to apply it. And then we started, getting more Marines as homeowners, and that felt really good because I knew what I had gone through, and I knew that we weren't doing that kind of disservice to other people. Mm-hmm. We were actually making people very aware of what they were doing, and that felt good.
That's good, man.
And the money doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's good, man, because, you've been in the business and you were a realtor first, and then now you're a loan officer. And from that perspective, you get to do things from both lenses, which makes you a dual threat, right? You can shoot threes and you can slam dunk, baby. I like it. All right, so let's get straight into the 5 things that happens in week 2 from a buyer's perspective. Now the appraisal gets done, the appraisal gets back, and it's at value or it's not at value. What happens after that appraiser gets back to you in week 3? And can you tell us why it's important for the notice of value to go out?
Okay, so excellent question. It's a multi-parter, so I'll address the easier portion first. So you get the appraisal, it comes in at value. Pretty much you can start proceeding with the loan. You know what the loan amount is or what it should be. You have an idea of what the seller credits are going to be, if there were any, based on the purchase agreement that was signed by both parties. You know how much cash that your buyer ideally is going to have to come in as far as closing costs. With a VA loan, we know that as far as the loan, you don't need to make a down payment, but there are closing costs, which that's separate from the loan. It doesn't go into into any of the loan to value, but you got to pay your portion of the escrow fees, impounds, etc. So you're going to already have a good idea of what these numbers are, so you can start dialing those things in. You're probably going to need an updated pay stub or LES for the active duty. You're going to probably need a updated bank statement and just any other little updated documents that were required for the pre-qual process.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to need that, in weeks 2 and 3.
I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people are like saying, we already gave our LES, and that's important. That's why communication is important. So when your pay could have changed, and then also you could have gotten your pre-approval months ago, so your credit situation might change. Can you talk about that underwriting and what the underwriter does and why the underwriter is asking? What is the underwriter's position and what goes into underwriting on the loan?
Okay, sure. And then after we answer this, then we'll circle back to the appraisal when it doesn't come in at value, because that's also important to discuss. So I'll say this about underwriters. Sometimes they got the softest hair you can possibly imagine because they condition the hell out of it. What I mean by that is these mugs are going to be like throwing all kinds of conditions your way. Like, okay, we need this, we need like your blood type, and like do this here, and like, what's your nanny's, maiden name, all this stuff. And it's just like, good grief. But the reason that they do that is they want to really ensure the worthiness of that buyer's ability to pay back the loan.
Yep.
I mean, houses nowadays, they're going for, $500,000, $600,000. I mean, that's $500,000 or more dollars when you put it like that. You want to get your money back, and yeah, you're going to get your money back over the course of 30 years. But hey, money's money, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about in the industry. So they want to make sure they're going to get their money back. So they want to make sure you have the ability to pay, which means, do you still have a job? Do you still receive steady income? Do you have good spending and saving habits? Because you could make $200,000 a year, but if your checking account and your bank statements reflect that, you regularly have non-sufficient funds, well, you have bad habits, man.
Yes.
But you can make $60,000 a year, but if it shows that you always have money in savings, etc., you might actually be a better borrower than that person that makes $200,000. So it's important to vet any borrowers, make sure they can pay back the loan. So depending on how strong a file is going in, might dictate, how much stuff throughout the approval and the finalization of the process is going to take. If you're weak, they're going to need more stuff. But if you have a strong file, you show good habit of savings, they'll probably just need updated stuff like an LES, pay stub, bank statement, etc.
That's good, man. And now we talked about the appraisal coming in low. Can you talk about the FHA VA mandatory clause and why that's a good form, or why that's important, because you can't close without it with a VA loan? Can you discuss that really quick, and then we'll move on to requests for repair credits?
Sure. So VA and FHA mandatory clauses, they're important. One, it's identifying that, hey, this person is a veteran. We'll stick with the VA side for the purpose of this. But the person purchasing this property is a veteran. And veterans, they're entitled to, certain rights to protect them as they deserve, because they protect us. So we got to make sure that we're doing right by them. So there's going to be times where it happens where maybe a deal falls through. And, maybe the house isn't in an adequate enough position of repair where it's fundamentally sound. Like, it's not structurally well because this is broken, that's broken. There's a tree growing through the floor. I think I remember seeing a video a couple of years ago where there's literally a tree
growing out of the ground.
Out of the ground in a house. That's not okay. So properties like that, obviously we're not going to put our veterans, anybody, but especially our veterans, in a position where they're buying a jacked up house.
Yep.
And so if you have to cancel a deal, this ensures that, hey, this veteran is going to get everything that they put into an earnest money deposit. They're getting it back, Jack.
Yep.
And that's what it's for. Now, it's very hard to not get an earnest money deposit return. You have to show gross negligence on your part as a buyer. But this is how we protect the vets, essentially.
That's good, man. Now, in the event that the request for repairs goes and then you have a real estate professional within the communication, if there's a credit or something like that towards the loan that has to go towards reoccurring and non-recurring closing costs, why is it important to get that credit up front fast if you got a short escrow? Why do you need that addendum?
Well, you're going to have to make adjustments on the paperwork, on the numbers, and that does take time. Not a lot of time, but it's still, say you get that information late on a Friday, and then I submit that stuff. Well, a lender, they're not going to be open Saturday or Sunday. So then by the time they get to it Monday after the coffee or whatever, then they're getting it to you Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, and you went from Friday to Tuesday morning like that. And when you got a 14-day or a 21-day escrow, it's 21 days from acceptance. Now, depending on the day of the week, a lender, we might have 14 days, business days, to literally work on a loan. So time matters. So we get those in, we get the numbers updated. That way, to the cent, the buyer ideally knows exactly what they got to come in with or how much they're going to get in return. Because sometimes, maybe not lately, but in the past, we've been able to get buyers, some lender credit or to pay off some of their debt, etc.
That's good, man. And then I'm going to put...
Do you mind if we circle back to the appraisal when it comes in undervalue?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about that briefly.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So when it doesn't come in at value, when it's below value, what we call it in the industry is called tidewater. So there's a few things that could happen. One, the person selling the property can reduce their price to whatever the appraised value was. Or the buyer can come up with the difference based on the savings that they have. And, okay, fine. Or you could do a combination of those two things, right? So that's like A/B. And then the last option, and this involves a little bit of teamwork, synergistic teamwork from the listing agent, the buyer's agent, and usually the lending team. But we look for comparable properties that have sold recently because maybe that appraiser went out, Monday, the 5th of April, and they said, oh, this is not worth, what you're trying to buy it. But then maybe two properties in that same neighborhood closed on, say, the 8th of April. Well, when the appraiser did their work, that wasn't valid information. Now it is. The reality has changed, and these two properties that have just closed, maybe they closed $10,000 above the asking price, and they're model match homes.
Come on, Scott. Come on. I love that.
So now you have new data to work with. You could say, hey, look, Jack, these are worth this. These are worth this. We have comparable properties, so we think the house is worth this. Please reassess. And then they do or they don't. And when you can submit sufficient evidence to prove it is this value, they're going to probably adjust the value accordingly.
And that's why that's important. I'm glad that he brought that up because a lot of people don't know this. Sometimes new construction, when appraisers go in and they give the value of a property, a lot of the times they're going off of data that's in the MLS. And then you have the ability as the realtor to submit those comps that were closed in the title report, right? So you can look at those properties, pull the value up, and then also the cool thing about the VA during the tidewater process is if anything closed within that timeline, then you can actually submit those comps to bring the value up. I love that, Scott. Thank you for that nugget. Now let me play the devil's advocate. I'm going to be Granny. I'm Granny right now, and Granny's going to give my son $10,000 of this mailbox money that I had underneath my mattress, and he's going to deposit into escrow. Why is that a issue before we go into the locking the loan? Okay, that's the last nugget that we got today. Why can't Granny give that person that money? And why is it important to be seasoned?
Well, that's actually more of a layered and a nuanced answer to that question. Because Granny could, it just depends on when. Because ideally, if if the client, the borrower, is very transparent in the very beginning, they say, hey, look, I'm going to be getting a gift from such and such, Granny, for this amount. That way it can cover my closing costs. Mm-hmm. Well, if you know that going into it, okay, fine. Like, get that now. Because, okay, chances are it's going to take, a month or so to find the right fit of property for that person, etc. So seasoning is important. You want to make sure that you have funds in your account and show a history of 60 days. 60 days. That's the magic
60
number.
days, y'all. Y'all heard that, right? Look, now, see, Scott likes the barbecue. Now, if you see, we putting seasoning on that chicken. We ain't just cooking with salt and pepper now. We cooking with the seasoning, Jack.
Yeah.
So it needs to be seasoned for 60 days. Why? Keep going.
Okay, so we want to make sure that that Granny, we want to make sure your abuela, isn't Pablo Escobar, and they trying to do some crazy stuff and some Los Pollos Hermanos and running some stuff through your house. We don't want no blue sky going through the house, if you know what I'm saying. So we say 60 days. Ideally, it's going to show up in the form of 2 complete bank statement cycles. So, okay, we're at the end of April now. So if your February to March statement shows you've had this money and your March to April statement shows you've had this money, when you get the April to May statement, you're still going to have that money. So in that third statement, hey, you got sufficient seasoning. So you don't got to worry about it. But if you're trying to do all of this stuff at the last minute, it becomes trickier. Does it become an untenable option? No, but it's not ideal. We got to be able to source the funds. So if maybe Granny has it under the mattress, then you would say, okay, hey, Granny, could you put it in your bank account? You have one of those. Just put it in the bank account, and then when the time is right, then you can transfer me the money. But when you do, we're going to need to be able to get 2 months of bank statements from you showing it's been in your bank account for 2 months. That's also another form of seasoning. We have to show the funds have been somewhere legal for 2 months, 60 days.
That's good. And the last but not least, the loan lock. Why is that important? And then I know you've experienced where the seller's agent, right, had to extend escrow for new construction when battling with that. Why is the last chicken nugget, why is that loan lock important? And can it expire and cost the buyer money if you have to extend it? Can you explain that last thing?
So the loan lock is important. What it does, let's say you have a great interest rate. So, for example, I did a refinance on my house. So, our broker, our team lead, Constance, she did the loan for me, did a fantastic job. But if you don't have a predictability of when your loan is going to close, then you're going to do what's known as floating the loan. You may also float the loan if you think you can get a better rate. But if you think you're at the best rate that you're going to possibly get based on your situation, then you're essentially taking a bet that you're going to get the best rate compared to any of the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And, there's a cost to that. Now, you're not literally paying money out of pocket, but you have so much lender credit that may be provided by the person loaning you the money. And so it digs into that lender credit. If you do a 15-day lock, then, okay, it's going to dig less into that credit. 30-day, okay, that's about average. If you do a 60-day, then you're hedging your bets for 60 days, and so there's going to be a cost to it. But what they say about cost doesn't matter as long as there's added value. So if you're getting value from something, it doesn't matter if there's a fee associated. Are you receiving value? If you are, it doesn't matter. If you're not getting the value, though, then you should question those things, of course.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, man, today we talked about a lot. Scott, man, thank you for rocking with me, man.
Yeah, of course.
You've been rolling with me for a long time. I really appreciate you. The biggest thing that I would definitely say is the right people over the most people. Make sure that you have the right people in your organization that care about the client. We just closed a deal recently, and some credits had to be given to that person. Do you really think a major lending institution is going to do that? So, Scott, you understand the power of building the relationship and sacrificing some things in order to get things done, and that's why you are who you are. How can we reach Scott Leonardson?
Okay, yeah. So, excellent question. So I'm embracing a little bit more technology when it comes to the social medias. So you can reach me on Instagram at Scott A. Leonardson. That's it. It's just very basic. They say God broke the mold when he made me, so there's one of those guys in Instagram, and that's this guy right here. You can also DM me on Facebook. Again, just Scott A. Leonardson. Just look for this handsome mug right here. And then you can also reach us on our team website, militarymortgagegroup.net.
Magnificent, man. This has been a great podcast. And guess what, y'all? We're coming to a theater near you. This is how you can reach us, wire10k.com. Make sure you're following the Facebook group, Win in Real Estate. Also, make sure you follow us on Clubhouse, Win in Real Estate. Now, this is what's happening. We're going to be talking about week 3, okay? That's going to be our next episode in regard to the 5 things that happen in week 3 with our mortgage professionals at Military Mortgage Group. So make sure you stay tuned, okay? And how you can reach me is anthony10k.com, where we help you win in real estate. Let's freaking go. Scott, amazing.
Let's go. LFG.
And thank you. And also, brother, Simplify, and thank you for your service.
Simplify, man.
All right.